Hello and welcome to this Youth Issues program. As young people, we face many challenges, and our goal is to talk about these challenges and to provide solutions for them. For the next few minutes, we will be talking about the issue of mental health. My name is Anna, and joining me is my friend Tim.
Hello.
Now, Tim is an estate agent, and he really loves football.
Certainly do.
Thank you for joining me, Tim. Welcome.
Pleasure.
Tim will be talking about his experience of living with bipolar disorder. So first, Tim, tell us, what is bipolar disorder?
The medical profession would describe it as a manic depressive mental illness, which affects your moods and the way you feel, which can be very disruptive to your daily life.
What are some of the symptoms?
The symptoms are increased energy, feelings of grandeur. You can become very irritable. Your moods change very rapidly. You can feel euphoric. You can then 10 minutes later you can feel really depressed and down, and you don't really want to communicate with anyone or go out.
Mm-hmm. And how did you kind of begin this experience, if I can say that?
For me, it began when I was 18. I'd left school, I'd left college, and I started to do a job, a marketing job, working 9 till 5 in an office with not many people around me. It wasn't particularly rewarding, and it really affected my mood. And I was really bored, and I started thinking, is this it? Is this my life? What my life is coming to? And so I started trying to find other avenues to try and cheer myself up. Which I tended to go out a lot and go out with my friends, and like youth culture in the UK, it seems to be surrounded by going out drinking and going clubbing and
living for the weekend.
Exactly,
kind of, yes.
Exactly. It's not a very healthy lifestyle, to say the least. But when you've got bipolar disorder, you tend to be quite susceptible to stress. And so basically, when I've started getting my first, or going through my first episode, I watched a film called The Matrix.
Okay.
And when I was feeling really depressed and quite low, I saw this character, Neo, in The Matrix, who was he was impossibly fast and strong. He could basically do anything he wanted to do. And
Saviour.
Exactly, a saviour. He was a saviour in the film. So, I was sort of looking to him, and I wanted to be more like him, I guess. So my mind sort of just latched onto the concepts of the film, and my episode sort of culminated in on a lads' holiday in Magaluf in Spain, and basically I just thought I could do anything. I could do anything I wanted to do. So I saw this yacht out in the bay, and so I thought, I'm going to steal this yacht. I'm going to jump on it. So in front of all the lads, been trying to be, the big I am, just stripped off in front of everyone on the beach, ran across the beach and jumped into the sea, swam out 200 metres onto this boat and sort of driving it around the yacht. I didn't get very far.
You didn't get very far,
I didn't.
Did you?
No.
What happened?
The police came out in a boat and sort of just dragged me off, and in my shame, I got locked up in the nuddy.
That's not very graceful.
No, it wasn't. I can assure you it wasn't.
I just want to back up a little bit. You talked about this living for the weekend culture.
Yeah.
And these feelings of grandeur, can I say that?
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
The Matrix movie, you were influenced by it. So what impact did alcohol have on all of this?
I guess it was when you drink lots of alcohol, it has many effects on you. It lowers your inhibitions, so you can start chatting to people a lot more. Yes. And it's quite enjoyable. I mean, it's not unenjoyable, but it's just unhealthy. Yes. And it just, the more and more chemicals you're pouring into your body that's unhealthy, it doesn't help you deal with stress. Bipolar disorder is basically a build-up of chemicals in your brain that mediates the cortisol hormone in your brain. So when you haven't got those normal levels of chemicals, you're not dealing with stress properly, and your body's not processing it properly. And so when you've got build-up of stress in your body, that's when everything starts kicking off in your body, and your moods are all over the place. You can become extremely argumentative. You can be excessively stupidly happy. Okay. So it seems like some of it's really good, but it has its down effects as well.
Yes. So you go from very high to very low. Kind of.
Absolutely, yeah. And anything that you can start crying quite easily. Like some stupid thing on the film, just if Bambi got shot, you'd start booing your eyes out, that type of thing. But you become very sensitive.
Okay, yeah. But obviously this affects your day-to-day living.
Absolutely, it's really disruptive. So I have got a problem with authority, especially when you're going through a bipolar episode. It's very hard to bite your tongue. If you think your boss is really getting on your nerves, you could say anything you wanted to. Okay. I did anyway. So I went through job after job, getting sacked.
So you lost your job because you
because of my moves.
I
didn't respect authority at all. So if I thought they were wrong, even though they're really experienced and they know their job inside out, I thought I knew better than them, and I'd give them a piece of my mind or something like that, So not ideal.
And what about now?
Now it's a lot of changes. I've implemented a lot of changes to my life. So one thing I did do was have really, really good chat with my parents, and made sure that I'm able just to talk to them about absolutely anything. I have regular meetings with my GP, just to make sure that I'm taking my medication. My medication I take is a mood stabiliser and an antipsychotic, and they basically just prevent the cortisol build-up in your brain, which leads to an excess amounts of stress.
So it helps to regulate your mood.
Exactly right. No, yeah. I'm very, very positive now. Good. So I've been 4 years since I've had an episode, and so by keeping sort of regular sleep patterns, eating more healthily, so not eating so much processed food, which all sort of builds up in your system, and can make you susceptible to stress. So if you cut down things like that and cut down alcohol as well, things like, I know it sounds a bit boring, but I'd cut myself out from having sort of relationships. I used to go through sort of 6-month relationships with different girls and things like that. But I'd never really be able to have a relationship with someone because of
the episode.
Exactly, and because I was very argumentative as well. So, that would never. Relationship would last too long.
You can't argue with a woman.
No, exactly. Not if you want to come out on the right side of things. Definitely not.
Okay. I know it took you a long time to get diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Yeah, it took 8 years. So to get a proper diagnosis for a mental illness, they diagnose it through patterns, and my pattern was I was having episodes every 3 years, and they didn't know there's 2 types of bipolar disorder. I've got type 2. Type 2 bipolar disorder is you get long periods of calm in your life, and then once I hit a period of stress, and then I can get my body's trying to cope with that by giving me excess amount of energy,
Right.
but then makes me feel indestructible, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
I go up higher, and then all of a sudden crash,
Okay.
and then for 3 or 4 months I'm
Wow.
I'm depressed.
Wow.
So I have no energy at all, and I feel completely defeated.
So it's quite you have long periods of calm, but then the episode can be quite long as well.
Yeah, exactly. Type 1 bipolar disorder is a disorder where you're up and down from week to week,
Okay.
which is very much more destructive.
Yes.
And unfortunately, a lot of people just can't hold down a job, a relationship, or anything in that type of. And a lot of people with type 1 bipolar disorder unfortunately commit suicide because of it. So it's very, very serious.
Okay. And obviously the medication and the healthy lifestyle that you've adopted help to kind of elongate this period of calm.
Exactly, yeah. So, I've had to sort of remove things in my life that cause stress. So, it's simple mathematics. You take away the stress, you're going to have less stress in your life. So, you need to write those things down that are causing you stress. So, if you're in a stressful relationship, get out of it. If you're, eating all the wrong foods, find out what foods you need to be eating, and eat properly. If you're drinking too much, cut that out. There's, life's too short to be constantly going from job to job, from relationship to relationship, heartache to heartache, disappointment. It all leads to despair. And so, some people are more susceptible to stress and have these disorders and mental illnesses. These things, for some people, might make a lot of sense. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that for a normal person, they might not recognise that, but for a person with bipolar disorder, it has so much effects on their life. It becomes very apparent that things need to change. So that's where I'm at.
Things you didn't think about before, now they become the main focus of what you have to do just to get by every day.
Just to survive, absolutely.
And how is your job? You said you went from a lot of jobs. How is your job now?
Yeah, my job's really good now. Now I'm on my medication, I look after myself, and I've got a lot more respect for authority because over time, you start wanting things, and if you want things, nice things like nice holidays, cars, and houses and things like that, you need money. If you need money, you've got to work with people, even though you might necessarily not like them. But to cope with all that, I've got to take certain measures. So that's what I do, such as medication and healthier lifestyle and all the rest of it. So.
Do you receive support from your boss, your colleagues?
I do, yeah. I declared that I had bipolar disorder, but I had a good discussion with them, and there's no problem that now declaring that you've got a mental disorder, and to just tell them that I've managed them with all this type of things that you do, some medication, all the rest of what I just described, and just say, obviously you're not going to go for a job interview if you just got out of hospital or you just got over a period of stress in your life. So, it's really one of those things where you just have to be open and honest. And I think people appreciate that, and they can see what efforts you're making, and people want to give you a chance, and they see the best in you. So, don't be afraid. And it's really important not to be afraid and communicate. That's probably the best advice I can give anyone. Oh,
that's great. What about your family? You said you talked to your parents about anything. Have they been very supportive?
Massively supportive. and very, very patient. They've dug me out a few holes financially as well, because another symptom of bipolar disorder is that you go on massive shopping sprees.
Okay.
buying anything you can get your hands on. It's a bit crazy. Yeah, you go out all the time because you've got so much energy. You don't want to be sitting in, and you know, you want all the latest fashions and you want all the latest cars because you think you're the God's gift to whoever, you know. That's it, you know. You've got like a huge ego to fill as well. So, you know, shopping was all part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, my parents were very supportive and paying off my credit cards, and thanks, Mum, Dad. 'Cause I thought I would be in a lot of debt now if it wasn't for my parents.
Yeah, I think it really helped you that you had support from your parents.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have the parents I did, I'd be in a lot more trouble than I am now. So yeah, I'm really thankful.
And what about your friends? You said you kind of had to cut some people out of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go out with a group of lads that they were good fun and they were funny and things like that, but not particularly mature with the things they did. And they played drinking games, and you could be drinking from 6 o'clock in the evening to 3 at night.
Wow.
So, you know, you'd be absolutely on the floor, you know, spewing your guts up, and everyone else jumping on top of you doing the same thing. So, yeah, it sounds fun, but it isn't, particularly after a good 3 or 4 years. It's just not sustainable.
Are there any friends that kind of stuck with you and came to visited you in hospital?
Absolutely. I've got a large circle of friends, and I must have about 20 people come and visit me and on regularly as well, and all my friends and family were there for me as well. So, yeah, I was very lucky.
That's great. Does bipolar run in your family?
Funnily enough, it doesn't, although in a lot of cases it does. So it was a bit of a surprise for us when it came about. So yeah, it's just a bolt out of the blue, and that's why another reason why it took so long to diagnose, because no one had any history of mental illness in my family. So yeah, that wasn't a bit of evidence they could look back on and give a diagnosis to say, look, this is similar to what's gone in the past. So yeah, unfortunately, well, fortunately for them, but unfortunately for me, it wasn't a quicker diagnosis because of it.
So how was it? I mean, you must have been really surprised. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are living with a mental disorder, but they don't realize it.
Yeah, I can imagine that can only cause so much pain and frustration.
Confusion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just terrible. I guess you don't know you've got it until you go through it, until you're through the other end. So it's just one of those things you've got to get through it to realise it, to manage it, to overcome it. So.
Did you feel maybe a sense of relief once you were diagnosed to kind of have an explanation for your behaviour?
Absolutely. Well, I was always living in fear of my next episode, and you know, I started wanting to just give my bank balance to my parents, just to say, look, I don't want to get myself in debt and causing you issues and things like that. So when I finally got diagnosed and I could take medication for it, boy, that changed my life completely. So like you say, if anyone's going through that and feeling the fact that, you know, I don't want to take medication because it's got a stigma attached to it or something like that, just take the medication and get on with your life, because your life will change and you'll be a lot happier person because of it.
You mentioned stigma, and there is a huge stigma in society around mental health and people with mental disorders. How did you overcome that?
I just talked about it to everyone, and people. You think to yourself, well, you wouldn't want to tell your worst enemy that you've got a mental disorder because they'll take the mickey out of you or something like that. But you know, 1 in 3 people in the world, or in the UK at least, you know, suffer from some type of mental illness at some point in their lives. So everyone has had some effect on it at some point in their life, and everyone can sort of relate to it, or at least want to help someone that's close to them. So, you know, I'd say 100% of people are affected by mental illness, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It really isn't, because we're all fragile human beings. Anything can go wrong with us at any time, and so we just need to communicate and be there for each other, basically. I think people generally want to help and understand and listen. So
Yeah.
that's my experience anyway. When I've spoken to people, anyone, really.
Yeah. What about maybe not the stigma, but shame or guilt? You said you felt some of
Oh,
that.
absolutely did. Yeah. And I've had real difficulty, sort of. First of all, when they were trying to diagnose me with what was it, epilepsy. They were trying to diagnose me, and it was when I was a bit younger, when I was about sort of 22, about 3 or 4 years before my first episode. I was really ashamed of the fact that I'm going to be stigmatised with a mental disorder and what my friends are going to think, and it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you just need to get on with your life and not worry about the insignificant things like that, because the people that have got a problem with that, they're not worth knowing, and so you just drop them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not easy to drop people just
No.
like that, but I guess, like you said, sometimes it's necessary. So.
Yeah, if someone's making you miserable,
Yeah.
If you were getting bullied at school, you don't necessarily invite them around your house, do you?
No, yes.
You've got to be friends with them or things like that. So I think it's quite easy to cut people out of your life that are making you feel miserable. But
So you have a good support system around you.
very lucky like
Yes.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay, go on.
How has your spiritual life helped you to deal with your disorder?
Very much so. I mean, at some point in my life, I was, going from relationship to relationship, and it was making me feel very empty and just despairing as well. I was starting to think, what is there in life for me? So when I started going to church and learning more about Jesus and God but not just seeing all that type of thing. It's just hanging around really nice people, and you just generally feel more love when you have really nice, sensible conversations with people.
Yes.
And they all have a common a thought or something they believe in, and I just think it's just something I couldn't ignore, and so I just wanted to learn a little bit more about it and have a little bit more of that influence in my life, and there's nice, calming, loving thoughts and from loving, really nice people. So that's an influence I'd like to keep going in my life, and so far so good. It's paying dividends.
So you kind of got this sense of community from hanging around people who have these common thoughts.
Yeah.
And then you also had more positive thoughts yourself, which helped to calm you down and reduce the stress. So
Exactly, yeah.
2 in 1 kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best thing about it is, it's free. You don't have to pay for any.
It's free counseling.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a free, healthier lifestyle. And who better to follow in life than someone that preaches love. It's not the best thing in life, pretty much.
If you were to address a young person who is there where you were when you were 18, what advice would you give them? How you went through that? You were a young man and you had your whole life ahead of you, and you had this bomb kind of dropped on you.
Yeah.
So what advice, what's maybe 3 things that you would give them?
I guess the first thing you're going through at that age is that you're trying to identify yourself, and you're trying to show people who you are. And the last thing you want to be showing people is, I'm ill, I'm not coping with life, and things like that. So first of all, I'd say, don't worry. The more you worry, the more stress you're going to put on yourself, and the harder life's going to be. So worry less. You'll get there in the end, and you'll show people who you are. You're not when you're 18, because that's not the person you are still. You're still just a young adult at the beginning of your life. And so just because you're not a rock star or a movie star or leading some grandiose lifestyle just now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be a happy, fulfilled, well-rounded person that's, you know, doing something amazing, you know, 15, 20 years down the line.
So what you're saying is a lot of people think that maybe, like you said, admitting or being open that they have a mental disorder, they think it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
But actually it's a sign of strength,
Huge
because it
amount of
shows that,
strength.
yes, it shows that you're dealing with the
Exactly.
problem that you have.
You're not burying your head in the sand like a lot of people do. They ignore their problems, and you ignore your problems, they're not going to go away. You got to face them head on, and put into action the things that need to change. And once those things are changed, you won't. It doesn't seem like I've got bipolar disorder anymore, but I don't rest on my laurels thinking. What I mean by resting on my laurels, I don't just ignore the fact that you know, I've got a plan in place, a relapse prevention plan in place. So I've got a backup amount of money in case I need it, and that's put away. My parents have got various telephone numbers with my GP, so if they see signs of myself relapsing, that's in place, and so they can talk to me. You know, that is immediately available. Yeah. We've got a medication plan put in place, so I can increase my dosage if I need to, just to keep me calm and things like that. So, yeah, planning for the worst and hope for the best. So, yeah, that takes a lot of stress out of your life as well.
Yes, if you have a plan, you have direction, kind of, yeah.
No, absolutely, yeah, it's really, really important. Absolutely.
And where can somebody who's going through this, where can they go for support? Who can they contact? Or
there's loads of groups out there, but one is a really, really good one. It's called Mind. I've found I got a lot of help from them. But the NHS are great as well. I mean, they do a lot of great work, and I think they don't get a lot of credit for what they do. And no, they're very good, and they've got a lot of good caring people there as well. But also, you know, you need to get a good relationship with your GP. So, you know, a lot of times people just go into their GP and they just feel like a number. You know, what's wrong with you? Right? There's a what do they call those things? Bits of paper.
A prescription.
Prescription.
Yeah, in and out kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And you just feel like in a meat market, don't you? But
sometimes they don't even prescribe. They just say, "Oh, sleep it off."
Yeah, exactly. Have a glass of water.
Yeah.
Something like that. Exactly. But if you've got a good relationship with your doctor, which you're going to, if you've got a mental disorder and something that needs to be addressed on a regular basis, you're going to form these relationships.
Yes.
And they're important to keep in regular contact with them, and they can help reduce the stress and keep you aware of for yourself. You know, when the symptoms are starting to come back, if you're feeling anxious or you feel your energy level, so you become more aware of what's going on.
Well, I'm glad you get a lot of support from the health system. What about your family and friends, or for anybody? What can family and friends do to support someone who has a mental disorder?
I just say to them, just treat them as if you treat anyone else. Don't, you know, walk around on eggshells with them, or, you know, pander to their every need or anything like that. You know, just treat them like any other person. Have fun with them. Go out with them. Talk about anything in your life with them that's going on with you. You know, just be normal and help them get back to normality by being normal, I guess.
Okay.
Probably the easiest thing to do.
What do you think in society, maybe something that society should do to lower the stigma of mental health and to offer more support for people?
Everyone in life is going through a battle. It doesn't matter if you've got mental illness. You know, some people are going through breakups, which is extremely distressing. Some people have had people die in their lives, which is mortifying and so sad. So just because you don't have a mental disorder, you can be going through an extreme amount of distress in your life, and it will affect you. So, you know, everyone's going through something, so just be nice.
Be nice.
Be nice.
Yes, I think that's good advice. What's the final thought that you want to leave, maybe about your experience or advice that you would give to someone?
Dealing with bipolar disorder, I think you've got to come to terms with the fact, you're not indestructible. You need to look after yourself. You need to plan a little bit more. If you want to succeed in life, don't do crazy, silly things. And what I mean by that is, going out drinking or doing drugs, or just be sensible. Know your limits, and love yourself a bit more.
Thank you for joining me, Tim, and for being willing to share your experience with us.
Not a problem.
And thank you for joining us. We have been talking about mental illness, and if you want to know more or have any questions, contact us or share your story at lifeconnect.info. And I leave you with this thought: live healthy, grow wise, and enjoy your youth.